Buenos dias, yubity tubity. Today we're gonna jump right into it and talk about the first and most important meal of the day, el desayuno. Okay, let's get specific with breakfast. So, what you eat for breakfast largely depends on whether you're treating it as a pre-workout or if you're gonna work out later in the day. But my personal favorite is and will always be oatmeal. I am 100% on board with the oatmeal hype train, and there's no way you haven't had oatmeal for breakfast at least once in your life, because it's cheap, it's easy to make, and it's pretty damn efficient as fuel for a workout, especially if you pair that with some hot coffee. There are, however, oatmeal tiers, starting from, this kinda tastes like foreskin, to the one you're aiming for is the latter. Okay, so let's work up the tiers, starting with pre-workout oriented breakfasts. And as the tiers go up, so does it taste, so do the calories. Así que mantén esa idea en la cabeza. So this is a half cup of oatmeal, cooked in water with a pinch of salt. That's it. The only times I ever eat this disgusting piece of is when I'm on my last month of fat cutting, and even then I only have this meal like every 3 days or so. It sucks, but I mean, it's a breakfast, I guess it works. The good news is we can take this oatmeal from its current tier, failure tier, and go not to D, go straight to C. We can bypass that entirely and just move straight to cock of the rock tier. This is a bowl of oatmeal with a tiny splash of oat milk, a sprinkling of flax, a floopy of turmeric, a scoopy of cinnamon, and 11 doopies of black pepper. The fats in that splash of milk help the turmeric coalesce into the liquid. I mean, if you were to add turmeric into plain boiling water, the particles would kind of just float about and turn your oatmeal all gritty and shitty. The black pepper just gives it a little bit of an extra and helps something with the absorption of the turmeric it's good for you for whatever. I don't know. I don't care. It tastes good and it's apparently good for you, so there you go. Obviously, you could add some brown sugar or honey into it, and yeah, it's gonna taste amazing, but just make sure you don't go overboard with it. Ideally, you want to add enough so that your oatmeal is kinda sweet, but you don't want it to taste like candy, right? You could also just do what I do and add your artificial sweetener of choice, and it's gonna taste great. The tier immediately following is the fruit tier. You do the exact same thing, but toss a fruit in there. I mean, you could do whatever berries you want. For example, you could do strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, and thornberries. You can also peel, chop, and dice half an apple and chuck it into your oatmeal. Or you could do the exact same thing with a banana instead. Personally, I like working out in the morning, and I find that, I really like bananas, and they're also what gives me the most energy, so that is my soup du jour. When we start moving into the cusp of this tier, we can slap a fat wad of peanut butter into that puppy. I usually reserve this kind of breakfast for when I'm trying to build muscle or strength because, the addition of a fruit and peanut butter pushes the calories high enough that it's gonna be sitting in the gain weight category. Something else I want to mention is, take everything I just said about oatmeal and let me introduce you to kamut or kamut. I'm not 100% sure how you pronounce it, but I digress. Kamut is a grain that's rich in fiber, among other things. But the cool thing about it is that it's almost identical to oatmeal in the sense of water ratio and preparation. So you would cook kamut the exact same way you would cook oatmeal. Therefore, I don't really have much more to say about it, other than it tastes different than oatmeal, it's good for you, and you'll get the same benefits, pretty much. So I'd say, if you're getting bored of eating oatmeal every single day, even if you're adding some variations every now and then, just keep a bag of kamut around. I think you'll enjoy it. If you're also getting bored of oatmeal and kamut, there are other grains you could try that are not necessarily my favorite, but they're nice to have around in case, again, you get really bored of eating the same thing over and over again. Like, say, you could try Millet, you could try spelt. Even polenta, I don't like it too much, but some people do. So remember, a lot of these grains you can cook the exact same way you would with oatmeal, so feel free to give them a try. They're all pretty similar. My actual favorite breakfast, and one that I always look forward to, is overnight yogurt oats. This stuff is top tier, not only because it tastes good, but because it's kind of like a little morning present. So you prep it the night before, then wake up the next morning, go downstairs, abres la refri, y ahí está. Ahí está tu desayuno. No tuviste que mover pero ni un dedo. Alright, this is what you do. You grab a mason jar, or, well, something of a similar size. Throw in half a cup of oats and half a cup of non-fat Greek yogurt, un poquitillo de agua, pinch of salt, and some artificial sweetener of your choice, then stir. Let that sit in your fridge overnight and yeah, you're basically done. This follows the same principle as oatmeal in the sense that you could add pretty much anything you want, like some nuts or seeds or berries or even peanut butter, though it might sound a little weird to throw peanut butter into yogurt. Nah, it's glorious. But again, remember, you're still pushing more calories if you do choose to do that. When it comes to regular non-pre-workout breakfasts, I usually stick to something like eggs and maybe a thin slice of toast, because it's just enough to get me up and going in the morning, and if I do feel like perhaps going for a light jog or for a run, it's not going to be heavy enough that I can't do it. Now, I can't start talking about eggs without mentioning that back-asswards myth that eggs are bad for you. Now, I've been eating an average of what, like 5 or 6 eggs a day for the past 6 to 7 years, and I've also had yearly health checkups ever since. My cholesterol levels have always been perfectly fine, and still are. Whenever I hear anyone talk about how eggs are bad for you, or some dumb shit like that, it always reminds me of those clickbait ads from 2015, where you see some badly pixelated banana in 1040p saying something like, "Top 10 foods to avoid if you want to get a six-pack." I mean, all that junk is misleading and it's mostly just falsehoods. Eggs are loaded in protein, loaded in omega-3s, they're cheap, they're easy to make, they taste good, and eggs are tight. Now look, if you've got a cardiovascular condition or severely elevated cholesterol levels to begin with, maybe check in with a doctor before you go ahead and start eating like 20 eggs a day. But again, as an average guy who's been eating 5 to 6 eggs a day for the past 6 or 7 years with perfectly fine cholesterol levels, I would tell you, don't worry about it too much. And please, if you do, stop propagating that crappy myth that eggs are bad for you, because that's just a reductionist generalization. Cooking method numero uno. Boil 3 eggs. You're done. Woo! I mean, that's all you have to do, really. Just let the water boil, reduce the heat to medium-low, and let them sit there for exactly 7 minutes, 30 seconds. I've been doing this for years. Take my word for it. If you cook it for 7 minutes, the egg whites are kinda gonna be undercooked, but if you cook them for 8 minutes, the yolk is not gonna be quite as runny anymore. I like to throw some sal y pimienta in a bowl, then peel off the shells and just roll the eggs in the bowl. Cooking method numero dos. Scrambled eggs. Yeah, not really much to say here. I honestly feel kind of dumb by having to explain it. If anything, just don't use too much butter or too much oil. You really only need a tiny bit, just enough to cover your pan millimetrically in order to scramble your eggs properly. Also, a lot of people don't know this, but if you add a splash of milk into your eggs and beat them together, your huevos revueltos get all fluffy and creamy. It's pretty neat. Sanbanme no chorihoho. Omelets. Make sure you're using a non-stick pan for this one, otherwise your eggs are just gonna end up half stuck to the pan. Y muchachos, nuevamente, you beat 3 eggs with a tiny splash of milk in a mixing bowl. Sprinkle la sal y la pimienta over top of it, and throw it into your pan once the butter is heated and browning. You don't really do anything here. You just sit and wait until it's cooked to where you want it to be, fold it in half, and scoopity-doop it into your plate. Wah! Oh yeah, and feel free to chuck some chili flakes or any veggie you want into your omelette. It'll be great. The last kind of breakfast that I can speak of is this. Meaning, not eating breakfast. And no, I am not talking about intermittent fasting. I don't really like intermittent fasting. And honestly, I find that the only people that talk about it are the ones that really want you to know that they're doing it and usually pretend like they know more about dieting than they actually do. You know it's true. Oh no, sorry, I cannot have that piece of kale, but thanks for offering. Do you want to know why? Oh, no? Well, I'm gonna tell you anyway. It's because I'm doing intermittent fasting. Yes, intermittent fasting. It means that I haven't eaten anything for the past 16 hours. I haven't eaten anything. Oh my god. I have so much self-control. I am so much better than literally everyone, including you. Now, all jokes aside, and I'm assuming that I pissed off a few people, I have nothing against intermittent fasting. It's only that, like keto, it's been a fad diet for so long that I'm just tired of people talking about it like it's inherently better than just regular dieting. And you know what? It's not better, and neither are you. Just stay humble, keep to your own decisions, don't push them on other people. I almost never skip out on breakfast, though there are a few situations in which I do. For example, sometimes when I'm cutting, I do like to go on runs on an empty stomach. It just feels nice. Or, let's make a scenario. Say I have been cutting for 8 weeks, okay? I've been cutting for 8 weeks and my cravings are hitting me really hard. So, what I'll do is, say, I'll go for a run on an empty stomach and I'll just bypass my breakfast. And then in the afternoon, when the cravings are hitting really hard and I want to succumb to Cheetos or chocolate or candy, ice cream, whatever, you name it, I will instead eat that breakfast that I didn't eat in the morning and I will treat that as my snack. And that's it. That's about all I've got for breakfast. So I've been doing this rotation for about the past decade or so, and I've never gotten bored of it, probably because I've always treated my breakfast as a pre-workout. Therefore, when I'm eating, I'm already kind of thinking about what I'm going to be doing at the gym that day, so I don't even give myself the chance to be bored of it. To wrap it up, I just want to say, don't drink processed fruit juices, like Tropicana or, God forbid, Five Alive. That stuff is for kids. It's just blended plastic and sugar. It's for kids. So, if you want to drink something for breakfast, squeeze your own juice, drink water, or drink coffee. That's it. I hope you found this helpful. Feel free to leave a comment, then like, then subscribe. Return of the Jedi is better than Empire Strikes Back. Buenas noches. Woo!